We know that the Harris County Fire Marshal is leading this investigation, but right now we have Houston's Fire Chief Sam Pena on the phone right now. Chief, can you tell us any more?
All I can tell you right now is that we do have units out there in support for mutual aid, and we're there to support our partners in Deer Park and at the Shell facility. We have our hazmat units, and we have approximately about 15 units more or less in total out there. And again, we're there to augment and assist them in whatever they may need.
We've been watching from Air 11 firefighters pour water onto that fire. That's what it appears to be to us, but we know that you have different methods, foam, other things that you use to put out those flames. Is that what firefighters have been using in this plant fire?
So yeah, they'll use the appropriate extinguishing agents. A lot of times it's foam for these petrochemical facilities, but we will lean on the subject matter experts there of the plant. So they'll have a fire brigade and personnel that are trained in what the chemicals are and what the appropriate extinguishing agent will be. We have also our hazmat experts out there, and again, this is these are hot and dirty and risky, really, you know. But you know, the fire brigade there at the plants, they're experts at what valves need to be shut off and how we can isolate, try to isolate the risk. And so we'll follow their lead. We're there to support them in this instance.
Chief Pena, this is Ron Trevino here. Do we have any idea what's burning? Have you been notified anything about what chemicals we're talking about?
Ron, I don't have the exact chemical that is on fire right now, or what or a group of chemicals that may be on fire. As I mentioned, we have our personnel out there, and we're getting relayed information as it becomes available. But it is a process of determining and verifying before we can so we can ensure that we're taking the right steps in the mitigation.
You know, Chief, we've been checking in with our meteorologist about the conditions out there and what these firefighters are going through. The wind seems to be cooperating, but the heat is there. And when you're fighting this fire and a fire like this, which takes a long time to put out, these are not ideal conditions for these firefighters. Can you talk a little bit about how that's playing into the efforts to put these flames out?
Well, absolutely. Look, these types of incidents are personnel sponges, especially in this weather with the humidity. Our firefighters need to have the appropriate personal protective equipment, and that doesn't lend itself well to keeping them cool. But we have, I think we have enough personnel, and we'll provide whatever additional resources they need to address this issue and keep our firefighters safe, as well as the firefighters from Deer Park and the plant itself.
All right, Houston Fire Chief Sam Pena, thank you so much for checking in with us. That was great information. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
As we continue to take a live look from the ground outside the Shell chemical plant of the fire, the smoke appears to be dissipating.
This is a statement from Sheriff excuse.
No, this is from Commissioner Adrian Garcia,
Commissioner
I believe,
Adrian
yes.
Garcia, that's right. Saying my office has been in touch with the Office of Emergency Management, and we also have also personally spoken with the plant manager at the facility that has been burning. All employees at the facility have been accounted for. We urge people to avoid the area to make room for emergency response. There is no shelter in place currently in effect.
That's a statement from Commissioner Adrian Garcia. All right, if you're just joining us, we're coming up to almost 2 hours of this fire. Almost 2 hours. It's 4:50 now. The fire started around 2:50, 2:54, 2:52. So it's been 2 hours now. As we take a live look from our Houston TransStar camera, obviously the smoke is still thick, but not as thick as it was.
Yeah, those two posts still flaring. We were seeing flames even a half hour ago within the smoke there. But again, not seeing those flames. It looks like they have died down. No confirmation as to whether they've been put out completely, but the smoke dissipating a little bit, and that's always good to see.
Yeah.
We're going to go now to Junior Caruso, I believe, to check in on traffic as the evening commute picks up. Junior.
Yeah, so both sides of the roadway are actually still moving pretty good. Now, those westbound lanes on the left, the side that you see the smoke, they are starting to get a little bit more congested. You can see that there's more drivers down the road there, but I wouldn't say there's much of a slowdown. There's maybe drivers are going a little bit slower than normal, but I'm not seeing much of a delay. Drivers are getting up to the Beltway pretty good. Now, once you get to the Beltway on the westbound side, you will hit some traffic. That ramp has backed up a little bit due to the frontage road being closed and just more drivers being in the area right now. So you will get some delays there, but 225 both directions right now, moving pretty good. You may just be moving about 5 or 6 miles slower than you normally do.
All right, good to know. Thank you so much, Junior.
All right, we've got a number of crews on the ground outside the plant right now. Let's check in for the very latest on that situation. Jason Miles, how are you? Tell us what you've been able to observe since the last time we spoke with you.
Yeah, Ron, and in fact, I think we were the first news crew on the scene. We're in an area that has since been blocked off, so we're kind of the only ones at this particular spot with this particular vantage point, fairly close to that fire. And I heard you say earlier, it seems the flames were going down a little bit. Now, it seems we're seeing a lot more flameage again, and the smoke has kind of shifted in another direction, but the plume of smoke doesn't appear to be as large. Perhaps that is a good sign that they're making some progress on battling this fire. Shell itself posting earlier, a duty officer or safety officer I saw posted something about this being in one of the units here, that it was contained to the boundaries of the facility and that the place was evacuated, as we knew earlier, as I saw workers on this side of the feeder road of 225, also some gathered in the parking lot. Most of them have since gone home. Obviously, there are still cars in the parking lot. Don't know the location of those workers, but the refinery itself was indeed evacuated. As you mentioned, this is the Shell Deer Park complex, a pretty massive complex of storage tanks, refineries. There's even an office building to my east where this facility is managed. One worker who works at Calpin next door said he heard something, came outside, saw the smoke, saw the flames, felt the heat even, and saw a couple of workers from this facility jumping over a fence covered in oil or smut or some substance. They were basically covered from head to toe, escaping what was certainly a very serious situation and continues to be a concerning situation here at Shell Deer Park. Guys?
Yeah, Jason, such a big industrial park there. Of course, the big concern is that you don't want that fire to spread to any of the office buildings or any of the other facilities there. So incredibly, firefighters have been able to manage it and keep it under control in that way. And I can imagine the fear and the concern of folks who work in that area who are trying to get away from those flames. Thank you so much, Jason.
All right, let's bring in Tim Pandages one more time for what the weather conditions are like out there.
Yeah, Ron, you were talking about how this has now been burning for about 2 hours. 2 hours of an intense fire like that is putting a lot of particulate matter into the atmosphere. It's all rising pretty much vertically because we do have light winds. But I want to show you here, it was so intense earlier at the onset of this initial outbreak of the fire that it was picked up by local radar. You see it there entering the atmosphere here just north of Deer Park. That's where it intersected with the radar beam, and then with the prevailing winds, it was drifting off to the north-northeast with winds out of the south-southwest, only around 5 to 10 miles per hour or so. You can see that it dissipated enough. A lot of that smoke has fallen below that radar beam there. That's why it looks to be, kind of being put out. It's not the case. You can see the live images there of the actual fire still burning. Now the attention turns to focusing on air quality. Here are some monitoring sites across our area, and all of this is picking up moderate to sensitive air quality, not as a result of the fire. We've had already low air quality today because we've got smoke that has been blown in from mid-level winds from fires, wildfires burning in Mexico. So that's why moderate levels of air quality are being picked up at multiple sites, including those on the east side of the city. That is not a direct result of the fire ongoing at this plant. Here's a look at current wind gusts. We're starting to see that bay breeze set up, so winds are a little bit stronger at LaPorte now at 15 miles per hour, 13 at Seabrook, but closer to the fire area there, down to around 10 to 12. So that's still considered light. That's allowing that smoke plume to build basically vertically and not tilt over and become horizontal and blowing across areas that are populated in the surface area. So that's good news. It's staying airborne out there, but it is awfully hot. So those battling the fire having to deal with air temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90, but it actually feels close to 10 degrees hotter than that in some spots with the humidity. It feels like 100 at LaPorte, 101 out at Pasadena, and it will stay hot through the remainder of the evening hours, and that breeze may pick up a little bit as well as we see that bay breeze try to build a little bit farther inland. So those are two things to kind of take into account. The wind's getting maybe a little bit on the stronger side, could help fuel that fire a little bit more. It looks like they're getting plenty of water on it right now, but that's the good news there, and it should be keeping things in check for a little while.
All right, we've been watching it for like 2 hours. Thank you so much, Tim Pandages.
And we're going to continue to track this fire at the Shell plant in Deer Park. Mia and Len are on deck for KHOU 11 News at 5 p.m. We're going to take a quick break, but again, if you want to stay connected, you can always catch up on everything we've been covering in the last 2 hours on KHOU.com.